Hello Year 10. Okay, a very quick tutorial from me. Apologies I'm not in today. What I'd like you to do for your cover work today, you're going to be given a scan of one of your faces. Dylan, apologies, I'm using you as an example. I had a spare one. And this is a less good quality photocopy. This one didn't come out as well as the one you actually have, so don't worry about the quality of this one. Yes, apologies Dylan, hope you don't mind I'm using your face as an example. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be practicing a little bit of skin tone painting, and when I'm back I can teach you a little bit more about this, but this is kind of your initial practice so I can see how aware you are of some skin tone work. And we're going to be looking at a bit of an example of an artist called Elly Smallwood. You can see the reason I'm using her as a fantastic example of what we're doing today is, lighting isn't great, I know. She does these beautiful paintings that are left unfinished. So she has the kind of pencil and charcoal sketches of the face, and then she fills in certain areas. There's certainly a skill to knowing when to stop painting. And with your photocopies, we're not going to be filling the whole thing today. We're going to be working into sections like you can see here and here, and even when you can see some of the pencil work just going on there. So I just want to have a quick talk with you about mixing your skin tone colours. I know this is something that can be quite tricky. Can I zoom out a little bit? No, I don't think I can. It's okay, I'll get it all nice and close up. So I am going to trust you all to get out some acrylic paints today. Please, 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 I'm not in all week. Can we make sure everything is put back spotless? Absolutely spotless. Whatever paints you get out of the cupboard, they need to go back where they were. Any brushes you use, any palettes you use, they have to be washed up. I am not there to check. Some of you are extremely poor at washing up brushes, and brushes are going in the bin each lesson. That is not acceptable for a GCSE art student. So please make sure the brushes are washed, they're perfectly clean, and they go back in the box. I've just left them out on the side for you, but the paints you can get out of the cupboard. Okay, so skin tones. Very quick run through. I do highly suggest having a little look up of your own as well, maybe before the lesson. I will share this video with you before the lesson. Have a go at just a little practice beforehand at what kind of colours you mix. So I'm going to talk through just a couple of different colours, a couple of different skin tones to help you practice. I'm going to just get a bit of paper here, just so you can see. Let me just check that's in frame. Yes, it is. Right, so when you pick out your colours, the first thing I'd get is your primaries and a bit of green and so red, yellow, blue, green and white. They're a good start. I'd also get some brown. If there are any skin tone colours in there, you can use them. You may want to be mindful of the fact of if you're mixing kind of posters and acrylics. Acrylic paint will say acrylic on the front of the bottle. Poster paints, ready mixed paints, as they say on the bottle, are thinner, more watery. You are welcome to use them. They're both water-based paints. But they are more watery, so they will not come out as thick as other paints. So you need to account for that if you're mixing. Yeah, but if there are some, I know there is some skin tone coloured ready mixed paint in there. So for lighter skin tones, then I always start with a base of a little bit of yellow, doing it quite small, a little bit of red. So we're making a really kind of orangey colour to start with. I'm going to mix a little bit of colour so I've got it for my painting in a minute. And then a lot of white. So basic orange skin tone to start with and a lot of white. I say a lot, you can play around with how much that means. Small bits at a time when you're adding your paint. Don't just chuck miles and miles. And what really drives me mad, sorry guys, having a bit of a moan, is when you start piling more and more and more paint on because you realise you put way too much red and you put piles of white paint into it. If you've put too much colour somewhere and you know you've got too much paint and you're never going to need that much, start somewhere else. Go, oh, there's too much red in that. Okay, I'll take a little bit of that paint, start mixing it here with a little bit more white. Don't keep adding and adding and adding with colour you don't need. So I have this colour here, which is a basic kind of peach colour. It's quite an unnatural peach colour. You can use it as a base. I will recommend just mixing a little bit of opposite colour into that to tone it down. So because we've got an orange base here with a little bit of white mixed in, I'm going to get tiniest bit of blue, and I'm talking, I've touched the edge of my brush with a bit of blue. It's the smallest amount, and you mix it in, and all it does is tone down that bright cartoon style peachy colour into something that is a little bit more like a skin tone. Okay, so that's my base. So a little bit of an orange, a bit of white, and then opposite colour, a little bit of blue to mix in, and that will give you some like peacher, whiter skin tones. Now, if we're going for darker skin tones, obviously you can use this as a base still. You could start adding colours like burnt umber, raw sienna to it, and getting yourself some deeper tones. Adding a little bit more red to shades. Everyone's skin tone are different colours, so you can experiment with the kind of colours you're adding in. Some warmer tones there. Again, opposite colours, okay? If your bases are reds and yellows, Mixing in little bits of green or little bits of blue will cool it down. Please do think about adding some greens and blues. Little bits, it just cools it down into your colour scheme. So have a little experiment and have a little think about what your skin tone is. You can see I haven't got, well, you probably can't see, I haven't got any black on my palette at the moment. So when I want to make shadowy colours, I'm going to use combinations of the blues and the browns, maybe deep purples, to get those shades, as opposed to try not to use black in this painting as much as possible. Okay, so I've got some basic shades there. I'll start mixing them separately. Just check it's in angle. Okay, so for your paintings, what I want you to do is just choose a couple of sections you'd like to focus on. I'd start with some skin tones. You obviously can go for an eye and things like that, but start with some skin tones. Now, I will send you a video of Elly Smallwood's work, and I just want you to kind of see, and you can see from the images that you've got as well, that her painting style is quite liney and blocky. The colours aren't overly mixed. They're left in kind of built up lines and sections on the page. I'm just going to start mixing up some colours again. A little bit of opposite colour, a little bit of blue. Way too much blue into my skin tone. Use that as a shadow in a minute. There we go, that's the colour I wanted. See, I put way too much blue on that colour. And I was like, oh, that's wrong. So I've just moved off somewhere else and started again rather than keep adding. So when we want to start our skin tones, think about a section you want to start with. Obviously you'll have your photograph to work from, which I do not have right now, but think about where your lights and darks are. So I've got my basic kind of skin tone I've started with here, and you can see I just want some lighter sections, but rather than keep mixing it on the palette, I'm just going to start adding it straight onto the page. I'm going to keep it quite loose and liney. I think I need some more kind of pinkier tones in here. Again, Dylan, thank you very much for letting me use your face as an example. I'm going to need much darker colours around the eye in a minute when I get to it. And I'm probably going to need some deeper purplier tones for my shadows. So I'm going to mix a little bit of red and blue together, a little bit of my skin tone with it. So now when I'm doing my darker shades, maybe a little bit of brown in there as well to warm it up. When I'm doing my darker shades, I have some colours to use. And you'll notice that Elly Smallwood's work is quite vibrant. So don't be afraid to play with your colours a little bit, mix up the size of your brushes, get some bigger ones, get some small ones. You can see I'm working with a relatively large brush again because we want to keep it quite loose and quite liney. I want to see some visible brush strokes in there. You're going to need a small brush if you're going into the eye, okay? You can still keep it in this same kind of style. Again, I will send you a video to watch. You can still keep it in this same kind of style. I'm going to go for maybe this side of the face. I'll go for some deeper shadowy sections. And you don't have to fill the whole piece. I might just decide to go around this way. I'm doing this very quickly because I have a very short amount of time to show you what I'm doing. But I'd love you to take your time. And as I said, this is a bit of a practice today with skin tones. I do highly suggest looking up before the lesson, having a little practice, having a little think about what colours are going to work best for you. I'm going to start putting some bolder colouring in there. These colours can get a little bit boring. A little bit of the brown, because this is a deeper section. And then you may even want to do some accessories. I mean, Dylan, you can paint the hat if you want to. I wouldn't do too much of it because we are focusing on skin tone. Not sure what colour the hat was, but we might decide we want to put some colour on there. Okay, so that's the aim of the lesson. Please do have a look at the examples. Please do have a look at the Elly Smallwood example, couple of sections of your painting and practicing a bit of skin tone work today. Do what you're comfortable with. This is very much an experimentation piece, and then when we get back next week, I'll be having a look at what you've done and we'll talk through how we can refine your skin tone painting. And obviously we can work over it, we can build into it. So this is your first attempt, but try and pick 2 seconds. Do try and leave some spaces free, still with your portrait. Don't cover the whole thing in paint. Really use these resources as a bit of an example. This is an experimentation task. Last thing I was going to say, anatomy boards, your anatomy boards. I do expect to see those by Friday. I will set a task on Teams. I want a photo of your finished board uploaded by Friday. Your reports I have to write are completed by Monday. So I am writing them all of this week. Obviously what I have to say right now is dependent on some of you and how much you have on your boards and how much work was completed in that time. If I can see a completed board, I would love to write something a little bit more positive. So please do get those boards, a photograph to me on Teams of your finished board by Friday. You're still welcome in the art department this week. I believe on Wednesday there is GCSE moderation, so you will not be allowed in the rooms on Wednesday, but any other day you are welcome in the classroom. Okay, right guys, thank you so much. Good luck. Please make sure you're working on your anatomy work, and I will see you all week after next. Not next week, well, it's Saturday right now, so week after next.